Uh, oh my God, Luna just pressed record for me. Okay, that's the universe telling me to stop blabbing and start recording this podcast episode. That's hilarious. She literally just pressed record. Okay, everyone, welcome to the Feel It to Heal It podcast / Morning Tea Live, wherever you are tuning in from. I was just sharing on Instagram that my eye has a popped blood vessel, and then Luna decided to shut me up and start recording. I was saying how, yeah, not that you guys need to know this, but I have needed to just rest a lot because I'm still recovering from all the craziness of last month and then this month. And then I've been upping my steps and my exercise. So with the increased exercise, with the increased workload, I also need to increase my rest. I've been going to bed earlier. It's been feeling good. Consistency, sexy. All right. Anyway, on today's topic, the root of overgiving. So you guys know that the way I talk about any protector, control, judgment, comparison, people pleasing is really looking at what is it protecting you from. And overgiving is just another protector. So Luna is really on one today. She's knocking over everything. Okay, bear with me here. So the different protectors that our nervous systems develop as a way to protect us and help us feel safe. And overgiving is another protector. Now, how do we discern between when we are overgiving versus when we are giving versus when we are not giving at all? Like, think about any protector as a spectrum. So even with control, we could be over controlling our emotions. We can be under controlling our emotions. And both over and under control are a form of dysregulation. With perfectionism, we can be on one extreme where we're highly perfectionistic. We could be at the other extreme where we are just kind of lazy and don't give a shit because we are not believing in ourselves. Not because we're actually lazy. It's just because we're not believing in ourselves. Let's say judgment. Oh, this is fun. This is a fun game. Okay, the spectrum of protectors. That should be the name of this live. The spectrum of protectors. So judgment, where you are highly judgmental, or you're on the other end, you don't feel safe to have an opinion or actually make a judgment. In DBT, we call it a positive or negative judgment. Like you just have an opinion about something of, I like tea. That's a positive judgment. I do not like, I don't know. I don't have anything on my desk I don't like, but I don't like olives. That's a negative judgment, right? And so a judgment is just an opinion, but judgmentalism, judgment, being judgmental is a whole other different thing because it's a protector against where are you judging yourself? Where is it safer to judge others than to be with the emotion that they mirror back and bring up in you? So all these protectors have a spectrum. So when we're talking about overgiving, the protector of today's live, the extreme would be I'm overgiving so much, so much, so much, so much. I'm just pouring from an empty cup, empty cup, empty cup. Or I am not giving at all because I'm so like holding on and gripping for dear life. Now, the middle ground that we want to get to, so if both of those are a form of dysregulation, regulation, grounded energy, love, open-hearted energy would be this middle ground of I'm going to give when it feels authentic and in alignment to give, and I'm not going to give when it does not feel in alignment or authentic to give. Like it's really that simple, but discerning of the energy behind those things can be quite tricky as you are getting to know the root of your overgiving. So what is the root of overgiving? The root of overgiving is there is a younger part of yourself, the inner child, shocker, because it's always the little us. The inner child in you is afraid that if they do not overgive, they will not get their emotional needs met. So if you start to look at all of your behaviors and all of your relationships to things from a place of what is my inner child trying to get met? What emotional need does this help me get met? And when we look at it that way, our eyes start to open real wide and we start realizing, oh, I was overgiving because I was expecting something in return. So, for example, when I was younger, I would overgive a lot emotionally to my friend. I mean, I was the mother for everyone, the mother of my friends, the mother of my mother, the mother of, you know, just people in my life, clients, like everyone. Like I was the mother and I would overgive, overgive, overgive. And I didn't know how to give to myself. And so the reason why overgiving was such a protector was I learned that if I overgave, I would feel worthy. I would feel special. I would feel deserving. I would get attention. I would get praise. I would feel seen for my wisdom. My mom used to call me wise child, which is going to be my next tattoo. I got to find her handwriting. Then we're going to do wise child with a snake, and it's going to be a whole thing. So stay tuned for that. Um, so I learned that if I overgave, I then got praise, validation, and attention, which is what I needed, right? We all need needs. We all have needs. And that served the purpose of getting those needs met. But then what would happen is when I wouldn't get needs met, so let's say I overgave, and it was in hopes of that person being able to meet me and also showing up for me just as hard as I showed up for them. And let's say they didn't do that because it either wasn't in alignment or they didn't know how or whatever it was. Maybe their needs just took over, that they weren't able to meet other people's needs. Then I would feel resentful. And then I would go to this opposite end because our brains love black and white thinking. It eats it for breakfast, black and white thinking, black and white thinking, black and white thinking. It would go to the opposite end of, well, I'm going to hold on tightly to protect myself and protect my energy and not give it all because I feel resentful that my needs are not getting met. So you see how the original overgiving was never actually about that other person. It was about you needing to get your needs met. And so as an adult, it's actually very selfish when we do that. Same thing with people pleasing. It's actually not kind because it's coming from a place of, I need to feel safe. And this has actually nothing to do with you. And people can sense that energy. I've had conversations with my mentor about this where she's like, I can sense when you're overgiving from a place of just open-heartedness versus when you then overgive and feel resentful because little you is like wanting me to save her. And I'm like, yeah, totally. And something I've been really working on with her is releasing this unconscious resentment, this unconscious anger that I have, that little me carries around all those years that I overgave and didn't get my needs met. And so when I'm feeling fear or something's coming up in the present, because little me has that attachment mother reparative figure with my mentor, it's like little me unconsciously expects her to save me, which that's not her role. Her role is to guide me home to me and me learning how to attune to my own self so that I don't seek external saving outside of myself. So when we would notice this come up, it would be really this relationship of, what is little me needing? Why is she projecting that onto someone else and expecting to be saved when I'm the one that has to show her that we don't need to look outside of ourselves anymore because we're an adult, and that's the freedom of being adult. We don't need that other person. Now, yes, we do need connection. Yes, we do need attunement. Yes, we do need validation. We need to allow ourselves to get our needs met that were not met. And so, yes, there were many times where I did need that reparative experience of, I mean, that's literally why I invested so much in this work, is I needed a space where it was just focused on me, not a friendship where it was mutual, not a client relationship where it's me serving them. I needed a place for me where it was just about me because I never had that. I was always the one fighting for the attention. You know, like my parents had 3 kids. I was the youngest. By the time I was born, my parents already had 2 kids. You know, they're only human. They only have so much capacity, right? So that, again, this isn't about blaming our parents. This is about understanding the root of, I learned to overgive as a way to get needs met. Where am I now overgiving and then feeling resentful? So this week I had quite a reparative experience of really integrating the energetic difference of what it feels like in my body to give from an open heart versus giving in expectation, very sneaky expectation. These things are unconscious, they're sneaky, they're subtle. Sneaky expectation of getting something in return. And so you guys know I have my program, The Secure Entrepreneur, And it's all about healing anxious attachment in your business. It's all about releasing sticky, messy energy in your business. It's about relating to your business from authenticity, from alignment, from secure attachment, from deep self-connection, from an open heart rather than a give to get. And so this was like the next layer of healing and integration for me, relating to everyone in my life, including my business, from a place of where am I holding on tightly? Where am I flooding? Like, where am I overgiving and not honoring myself? And where am I navigating this middle ground, this middle place of, oh, it feels really good to give that, or it doesn't feel good to give that. And I've had 2 instances in the past 2 weeks where the universe has given me, because again, when you tell the universe or God or higher source, whatever you want to call it, I want to heal this thing, opportunities present itself to heal the thing. So I'm saying I want to heal this scarcity wound that has been coming up for me on a whole other level. And so I had 2 opportunities to practice that, where the first was a client was asking me if the package that she got came with this thing. And I knew in my whole body it was not in alignment to give that, because I'd already given enough that I knew it would be overgiving from a place of, oh my God, if I don't give this to her, will she be mad? Will she not be satisfied? Will she not want to work with me? Like all those scarcity thoughts. And so it was my opportunity to practice saying, no, this does not come with that. And it felt really good. It felt really good to just stay in my power around it. And she was totally understanding. She was like, yeah, totally get it. Versus another client situation where I did want to give something. And again, like these are such individual basis things, right? Like, and this is why I talk all the time about non-attachment means you're not attaching to one thing or one example or one person and saying, well, because this was an alignment then, it's, going to be an alignment tomorrow. It's, you have to allow each present moment to be a new experience. So with the second situation, it was, oh, I really want to give this thing, but I have to really make sure that it feels like a full body yes. So I sat with it. I said, is there any sneaky energy of expectation, of trying to get needs met, of anything else that's kind of surfacing? And I sat with it, and it was like, no, like there is no expectation. There is no attachment to outcome. There is no outcome. It's literally just, this feels so good to give that I want to give it. And I feel the same way with, even in my Authenticity Unleashed group, I offered the Secure Entrepreneur at 50% off, and that felt so good. Like it lit me up. So this is how you tell the difference. When you are overgiving, are you feeling lit up by it without any expectation of the person returning anything? Like no strings attached. Does it feel really good? Number 1. Number 2, is there any part of little you that's taking over that is afraid that if they don't overgive, they will be perceiving abandonment, rejection, judgment? I'm working with a client on this now, where she's been really overgiving to this business opportunity. And we've really had to explore how much of this is actually authentic, or how much of this is coming from that people-pleasing protector, the overgiving protector of, I'm going to do this because eventually they're going to meet my needs. Whereas we don't know. Like, the question is, would you still feel in integrity giving this thing, even if you got nothing back in return? No, like, oh, one day they'll scratch my back if I scratch theirs. No, like, oh, I'm just doing this because it feels really good to get that praise. Like, it's okay to need the praise, but how do you want to receive praise? Do you want to receive praise from doing your own business rather than pouring into someone else's business? Or do you want to receive praise from saying no and people seeing that you said no, and you said a sacred no? Because that's still going to get praise, right? I praise my clients every day when they use their sacred no or their sacred yes, when they're like, fuck yes, I want to do this. And they feel the fear and do it anyway. Or no, I said no because it feels in alignment to say no. You're still going to get praise. So it's identifying, what is the younger part of you trying to get? What is the need? Validating it's okay to need that. You don't have to shame yourself for that. We all have needs. how do I want to get this need? Do I want to get this need by honoring myself, or do I want to get this need met by abandoning myself? And every moment we are either honoring ourselves or abandoning ourselves. And when you are abandoning yourself, you are perpetuating that very same trauma that is creating the original trauma response of overgiving to begin with. That is what we call a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you really want to look at the energy behind the thing. And again, these things can be unconscious, they can be sneaky. So it's not about getting it right all the time. It's not about being perfect. It's about getting curious. The most transformation happens when you have the ability to get curious with yourself. How can I get curious around the energy behind how I'm relating to this thing? Where is little you making it mean something that someone else did not meet your needs when it's not their responsibility to meet your needs? Where were you expecting them to meet your needs rather than you pouring into you and meeting your needs? And again, just using that as information, right? Like sometimes we really pour into something, and then when it's their turn to scratch our back, they don't. And that's information. That's the hard lesson we have to learn sometimes of where were we overgiving and where do we have expectation? And does this feel like a mutual relationship? No. Okay, well, that's information. And sometimes we have to learn the hard way. Versus where is it not personal at all? Where is, because it's not actually ever personal. Like if they're not able to meet your needs, it doesn't mean anything about you. It means they're not able to meet your needs. And then if something is happening where maybe you're expecting them to meet your needs when it's really not in, alignment for them to meet your needs, or it's not their responsibility. And then it's like, where is little you taking that personally? And then being with the emotion that that brings up. It's always happening for us. Our externals always reflecting the internal. So when something like that happens, it's because you're having some original wound show up that's being mirrored that needs to be tended to. And then we can use that as an opportunity to tend to the emotion that's coming up in our bodies. So for me, I was really relating from this place of one extreme or the other. And now I'm really navigating the energetic difference between those two and then navigating that middle ground. And the thing is when we're relating from this fear of, I need to hold on tightly to this thing, or else it's going to be taken from me. And that was a big wound that I uncovered from childhood of, I had perceived that my mom was taken from me. Like when my parents got divorced, my mom was with her partners. It felt like she was taken from me. And so I noticed that there was this energy of like wanting to like hold on to these things very tightly because I was afraid it was going to be taken from me. And that showed up in all of my relationships, where literally all of my relationships, they would take and they would take and they would take, and it would trigger that wound. And I had to eventually learn, well, stop expecting them to not take, stop over giving in hopes of them not taking and in hopes of them giving back when I'm attracting men who are just taking and taking and taking. That's on me, right? So again, it's not our fault, but it's our responsibility to look at, well, why am I attracting someone that is taking, taking, taking without being able to give back? Oh, because I'm over giving. Oh, because I have this wound where it feels very familiar for something to be taken from me. And that feels really scary. And even though we don't consciously want to recreate that, we still end up recreating it. So I had to really look at, well, if I'm holding on to these things for dear life and I'm afraid of being taken advantage of, well, that's what's going to happen. And it would always show up in dating. It never has really shown up in business. Like I've never had any, knock on wood, I've never had any like bad client situations where someone took advantage or, ran away with something or, that never showed up. But I think also part of that was because I had a lot of control. I had a lot of the control protector come in and say, well, I'm not going to give this until this, and everything was kind of more rigid. Or even like, I remember when a client hadn't paid for a session and I didn't realize that. I thought they had paid and I saw them and they were like, oh, send me the invoice for today. And I was like, oh, I thought I did. And they were like, no, you didn't. And it was this feeling of like, oh, I just gave and I didn't get paid for it yet. So these things from childhood show up in our money. And so for me, it's about trusting, like, no, that doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean that you have to start, waiting to get paid or give stuff away for free. It's like if you go into a store, you wouldn't like take the hat and be like, pay you later, right? Like you're still running a business, but it's loosening that rigidity around it of like, duh, 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 right? Because, and this actually showed up with a client where I very much trust that they're going to pay, but there was a couple sessions where they hadn't paid and I chose to still continue because it was actually that session, that moment of realizing, oh, they hadn't paid yet, that brought all this up and it helped me shift it. And so now I get to relate from this place of, oh, my safety is not dependent on if this person completes their invoice. My safety is created in my body. God is my sugar daddy, not my business. My business is the channel through which abundance and service and heart and money and all the things flow through it. But God is my sugar daddy. I am my sugar daddy. I don't have to relate to a job or a business or anything from like this rigid, like, oh, tight place. And so if you're also an entrepreneur, or just if this shows up in relationships, you want to look at how you are relating from this holding on really tightly, because that holding on is literally blocking your abundance. As soon as I loosened the rein of that control, I had all this abundance flow in because the universe was confirming you are safe. Your safety does not depend on these external things that are out of your power. Your safety is not dependent on you relating to your business and to your relationships and to your life through this control. Your safety is dependent on you and God, you and God together as a team. Like, and that makes it so much more enjoyable because then you can actually feel safe to give when you want to give, and you can feel safe to say no and not give and pour back into yourself when you need to pour back into yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? As cliche as it sounds, it's very true. There are cliche sayings like that for a reason. So I invite you to explore, what is little you getting met in terms of emotional needs by overgiving? Where are you attaching to outcomes and having strings attached and attaching and just having expectations? How can you pour back into yourself of getting those needs met and remembering that your safety is not dependent on those people meeting your needs because you're an adult now? As a child, your safety was dependent on those people meeting your needs, and now it's not because you create your safety. Your safety lives within you, not outside of you. And then where do you need to be relating differently to your relationship where do you need to be relating differently to your relationship to overgiving? Yeah, English was hard right there. To overgiving in a way that's going to feel in alignment from an open heart and authentic rather than from sneaky, unconscious, little you energy. So I'd love to hear what comes up from listening to this, how you would like to shift your relationship with overgiving, and also just like knowing that what you give is enough. Like you are enough. I always have this thing where it's like I overgave because I didn't feel enough because I was made to feel not enough. Like nothing I did was enough. And that was a trauma response from my caregivers that I internalized. And now I'm rewiring and reparenting of I am enough. And so everything I give is from a place of I am enough rather than proving that I am enough. And so look at how you're relating to your business, how you're relating to your relationships, how you're relating to yourself from I am enough. And so I'm giving just from a place of heart versus I don't feel enough. And so I feel like I have to overgive to prove I'm enough. Very different energy. Once you get to know the energy of how both of those feel in your body, you will be able to recognize when you're relating from each one. And then you can actually give that reparative experience of building that sense of I am enough because you are innately enough. That is just truth in your body. And then that will inevitably shift how you relate to giving from a place of I am enough and from love and from an open heart and from alignment, right? Like I told a client the other day, why are you spending all this time helping your family when you literally have a full-time job? You have other responsibilities to care. Like you don't have time for that. Sometimes we have to say no, even to the people, especially the people we love. So that is overgiving from a little girl place. And she recognized that and was like, oh my God, you're a genius. She's like, that was totally little me. I was like, I know. So when I point these things out to my clients, they can then learn how to point that out in themselves, like I've done. And we then get to really learn what our energy is. My mentor calls it energetic sorcery of like we get to really excavate what energy we're relating from, and our energy literally creates our life. So energy is the most important thing. So let me know how this all lands. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you so much. Let me know if there are any questions. And if you are loving these topics, these pod episodes, we go even deeper into all of these things in my Beyond Your Wildest Dreams membership training. The topics, we go more in depth. It's also more customized to what the members are needing support with. So you could literally be like, hey, I'm getting triggered with this thing with my partner. Can you give a training on it? And I will give you a training on it and riff on it and make it more customized to you. Whereas my podcast is more for the general public. And then also with the membership, you get a monthly Zoom call for hot seat coaching and mentorship and healing and co-regulation and attunement and all the things. And you also get journal prompts, integration homework. So we dive a lot deeper in the membership. So if you are loving this podcast and you want to dive deeper, come join us in the membership. You get community. You don't have to feel as alone on your healing journey. You have a space to co-regulate with one another, which you don't get on this podcast because it's just me talking to you. But in the membership, you guys get to support each other as well as me supporting you. And then we get that face-to-face time and that individualized support in the call every month. So DM me or head to link in bio to join. It's $111 per month, or you can do it for $83 a month by doing the pay in full discounted option for $1,000 for the entire year. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next episode. Mwah!